It's 7 o'clock, and I will call the January 28th regular council meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody in the gallery who's here tonight. We are always happy to see faces in there, and it should be an interesting evening. With that, I'll ask administration. We'll move to the agenda approval. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
No change that I have, Your Worship. Just wanted to advise those in the gallery that we have started live streaming last fall. And so the meeting tonight is being audio and video recorded and will be broadcast online. So I just want to let everybody know that might not have been in the gallery here for a while.
Thank you very much. And also for those in the gallery, if you hadn't had the chance to sign in as you walk through the door, please make sure you sign in before you leave. Pardon me, Council, do you have anything to add to the agenda? I will look to Councilor Taylor first.
Yeah, I see in our delegation we have the Blackfalds Senior Chino Club listed as 3.1, and I would propose that we make business item 6.1 to deal with the delegation for the seniors. So bumping everything up.
So 6.1 would be the Chino Club?
Yes.
Councilor Wolford?
Can we add under confidential?
Excuse me, can you guys speak up because you look back to your can, I'll hear you. Better raise your voices, please, thank you.
So in confidential, section 13.2, section 20.
Thank you. And we're also going to move the CA report to 6.4. Anything else from the council? Deputy Mayor?
I'll move the adoption of the agenda as amended.
Debate on the motion? All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Tonight we have two delegations. The first one is 3.1, which is a Chino Club. And I'd like to invite Jeanette and Daryl to come forward and provide their information. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Good evening and thank you for having us this evening. We've come to speak to you about our senior center. I'm the secretary of the Blackfalds Chino Club. We are meeting at the Multiplex room in the community hall where we now call our home. We meet Mondays and Friday afternoons. We have come as a group to voice some concerns that we have to express to you. Some of these concerns we have asked other people to look into for us, and it just seems to be go by the wayside. We have some space in our storage room over there. When we get out our curling rocks and our carpets for carpet rolling, it seems like we have to move cleaning supplies and out of our way, and there's a certain place that these are to be kept, but most of the time they're not there. We have to move the yoga bins that have their mats in them, and this bin is very big and it's very awkward. For some of us that are tiny, we can't lift that very well. We need to move the steps that are for the stage, and even some of the tables on the cart are in our way. So people don't seem to care that they're supposed to move things when we have our own little spot in there, and they seem to take that space up on us, and we've just got to move everything before we can get anything out of our cabinets or things like that. When we come in, when we come into this mess, we feel that people don't even acknowledge that we exist, and they don't have any respect for us. The storage room is so dirty that we don't even know the last time it was cleaned. The dust mop is absolutely filthy, and I don't know how they can keep the floors clean with such a dirty dust mop. I don't think it even gets the dirt off the floor. When this mop is dirty like that, they take our clean mop and they use ours and dirty it, and then we have to take it and clean it. We don't even know how often the room is cleaned because there's always mud, fluff, and other things are on the floor. And when we are curling, any of that stuff that's on the floor gets caught in our little rocks, in our wheels and our rocks, and then they freeze up on us and we can't use them. We feel that this place is not ours, and when we can't even put pictures on the walls, we had to get rid of our pool table, our shuffleboard, and because when we got this place, it had to be rented out, whoops. When we had to get rid of this stuff, because when we got this place, it would be damaged if it was left there. So we can't even have that as anymore. We also had to get rid of our couch, but the love seat and chairs that are there are already torn. We have a picture in the storage room, and it has a broken frame on it now. It seems like when somebody was taking something in, they caught the corner of our frame and broke our picture. We have no keys to the overhead gate, and we don't know why other people in town have keys for our cupboards. We don't think that's fair. And since the Globe has moved, or has no longer is in service, we were wondering if we could advertise in the newsletter that goes out with the water bill, saying that this is the Chimo Club and what we're doing, because we do meet Mondays and Fridays, and then we do have cards on the third Thursday of every month. One of our seniors has a walker, and the outside handicap button does not work, so then she can't open the door herself, so somebody has to be there to make sure that the door gets open and that she can get in the building. We have several people that know that we don't have a phone, and they keep telling us that we will get one in a few days, but that day has yet to arrive. What would happen if we had an emergency? Most of us do have cell phones, but when you're in an emergency, you don't think of things like that. You think of grabbing the first phone that's on the wall, and that's where it should be, that we can dial 911 and they know where we're at. When we have a tournament, people come in from out of town, and if they say had a heart attack or something, and we don't have a phone, then what do? It's hard to make sure that you grab your cell phone and you're charged all the time. And with this said, I'd just like to say that we feel that we don't get any respect or acknowledgement that our seniors even exist in this town of Blackfalds. You ask a senior if they've heard about the Chimo Club, and they say no, because they don't even know that there's a senior center here in town. We would like to know why we can't have a place of our own, and could there be room for us in the new library? Could there be a room up there for us so that we could just have our stuff, put it away, and not have to have everything under lock and key? If we had our own place, then we would want to make sure that we could, if we had our own place, we could use it whenever we wanted to and not have to sign papers for a year, because we have to sign a paper the 1st of September saying what dates we want for the whole year, for the following September. And that means that we could also, and we would also like to know if we could get a monthly schedule so we know what's going on in there in case we'd like to have something, a tournament or something, and we can't have it because the days are all booked. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
I was concerned about elections using our site. We were never advised that on election day, they would be using the Chimo site. We all came for our regular meeting, and lo and behold, everything was set up for elections. Now, I think that was very rude. It should have been told to us at least a week prior, so we can let our members know, today, don't bother coming. And another time, they took a half a day to put up a few lights in the Chimo room. And that could have been done in an hour with a couple of people. But no, they had to take a half a day, or half a day, to put up these Christmas lights, which were just hanging from the walls. And I think these things are accumulating, and it's causing a lot of us to be disgruntled and wonder, where do we stand in this community? Are we just second-class citizens, or, you know, someday you all are going to be there, and you're going to want, you know, to be treated normally and with respect and everything like that. So I think everybody on the whole has, you know, concerns, and we want to keep the club going. We have a great time when we do meet, but like I say, Jeanette was saying that the curling rocks, they get all gummed up with dirt and everything that's on the floor. I don't know if that floor has ever even been washed. Maybe it's only been used the dust mop or whatever on it. And We do like the place, but we like some privacy too. We don't want people into our stuff, and we like to be able to have our own little bit of space for our supplies and be able to do our thing. We enjoy the place, there's no doubt about it, but something has to be done about everybody using it and taking our spaces and using our supplies. We've lost coffee, lots of coffee in there. It disappears. I don't know where it goes. We'd like that gate put down if possible, and only one key, and that's to us. And the other key stays in the office here. So that's basically what I have, unless you have something else.
Thank you very much. Before you leave, maybe I could just ask council if they have any questions that they'd like to ask. And Councilor Taylor.
So I guess my first question is how did we get here? Like, how are we not addressing these concerns? Like, what's the process that you've gone through to address that?
We had gone through several people. We've gone through several people before, and it just said, well, we'll take care of it, and we'll let you know what is gonna happen, and nothing has happened, nothing. We've had several meetings with some of the town people here, and it doesn't do any good because it just says, we're gonna do this for you, we're gonna do that for you, and it's never done. And we've been without our phones since December, the 1st of December. So.
Are there any other questions from council? Not seeing any. Thank you very much. And the way the process works is that we have a delegation and we are dealing with this under 6.1. During the actual business item, we don't accept any information from the floor again. So if you have any questions from the discussion that we have during 6.1, feel free to write them down and contact CEO Thompson and myself for further information on them.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your delegation.
As a newcomer, I would like to see more seniors. There are a lot of seniors here, and I realize that this town has a lot of young people. But when there's young people, there's old people too. So don't forget about us.
Thank you. And your name was? Lorraine. Thank you very much for that comment, Lorraine. So that concludes the first delegation. Our second delegation is on Arena Womack Road expansion, and we have Emily Hillis and Justin Smith. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Is this my microphone? All right. So my name is Emily Hillis. You see me around the community. I'm an active volunteer within this community. I work with the youth organization, the Girl Guides. I'm the president of our fundraising society at the elementary school, and I currently sit on the EdTech board. I just want to share my story. So there you go. Since hearing about the arena expansion, we are excited for this community. I love the great amenities Blackfalds has to offer, and that this community is very youth-focused and driven. I attended the unveiling in April 2019, eagerly looking at the designs, asking questions, and completing the questionnaire. I had multiple questions, some to do about the community rooms, and I was directed to Myron Thompson regarding these questions. When asking about these spaces, I also asked him about the parking lot and what it would be like for the new facility. He proceeded to point across the road towards my home and tell me that the homes there would no longer be there and that the parking would be extended. At that point, I was shocked. I wore it on my face, and clearly Myron knew it because he asked me right after if I was a homeowner across the road.
He explained that there would be options, moving my home, relocating it to another property, or being at least fairly compensated for this inconvenience. I went home and I informed Justin of this news, and he was just as shocked as I was. We were then not contacted by the town leaving our property until our meeting with the town's representative, Sean Howard, on August 13th. How is it fair that after being informed that my home would be turned into a parking lot, that we didn't hear anything from this town for another 4 months? After our August meeting with the Land Solution Company, we watched as the town shared that there was another open house at the arena expansion coming up, which included the proposed parking lot. We watched the date get closer and closer, thinking that we would at least be approached and provided with some sort of official offer. This did not end up happening. The day prior to the event, while still having not heard anything from the town regarding an offer on our home, Justin called Sean Howard from the Land Solution Company, expressing his frustrations about how everything was being handled. Justin stated to Sean that he would be attending the public unveiling himself, since no one from the town seemed interested in letting the homeowners know what would be happening to their homes. Yet we're about to show everyone in town what would be happening to our home. Within 20 minutes of ending his conversation with Sean, the town all of a sudden agreed to meet with us the following morning to discuss numbers, but still stated no official offer would be given. After informing Sean that this was still unacceptable, Justin again stated that he would be attending the town's unveiling. This time it took less than 10 minutes before Justin was again on the phone with Sean, who told us yes, the town would have an official offer the following morning. So basically, the town had done nothing for 5 months, leaving us hanging, wondering what would come of our home, and within 40 minutes of telling them that there would be an angry homeowner at the public unveiling, we were told that we could have an official offer the following morning. Justin, upset with that, decided to still attend the open house and try to get some answers. While attending this meeting and addressing the town's sudden ability to get us an official offer, Justin was told from Myron that it was us that should have made the phone call earlier and acted like it was somehow our fault that things had not progressed quicker. We find this strange, as it was the town's rep, Sean, who had told us during our meeting in August that the town would be the ones who, through him, would be in contact with us about an offer. I feel like this entire process and how it has been handled has had a severe lack of communication, but it has also included an attitude of let's get this town on board and excited and forget about the families who will be losing their homes. In our opinion, the homeowners should have been contacted first about these plans for the parking, because parking is not an afterthought. Bylaw requirements must always be met. We were given an official offer the last week of October, 6 months after the April unveiling, and in the letter from Sean, we were told the town would be offering us $350,000 and that we'd be able to stay in our home until July 2020, until the town would need access to our property to begin construction. This date has since changed to May 1st, 2020. In the time following this email, we began to weigh our options, looking at building a new home, what those costs and timeline would be, relocating our home, what the cost and timeline would be, and moving to a different home and what that cost and timeline would be. While trying to make an informed decision, we had contacted a company who moves homes to get a detailed quote. The company informed us that just for a quote, we would be looking at almost $600. We contacted Sean to see if the town would cover the cost for this quote, being as it would be an out-of-pocket expense that we would never have incurred otherwise. Sean agreed during the phone conversation that this should not be an unreasonable request. Yet, a few minutes later, Sean called back saying that the town would not cover this expense. During the next few months, we continued looking for homes and weighing our options. We were in contact with several real estate agents, contractors, and home builders. We had 2 real estate agents go through our home, give us an estimate of what it would cost to rebuild it, and they estimated it would be $467,000, including the lot expense. We had 2 different real estate agents working on sending us listings for comparable homes in the area, and again, found that these were between the range of $440,000 to $470,000. Based on the square footage, lot size, and garage size of those 21 homes as compared to ours, and our offer of $350,000, we would be looking at a home that is 9% smaller than what we currently have. We would have, on average, a lot that is 1,396 square feet smaller than our current lot, and a garage that is 41% smaller than our current one. However, the average cost of those homes is $74,000 more than what the town has offered us. When we get down to homes priced within that $1,000 of the town's offer of $350,000, we find 6 within Blackfalds, Lacombe, and Red Deer. We compare it to our home, and these are on average 29% smaller than our current home. They sit on lots 23% smaller than our current one, and have garages 52% smaller. I asked members of council and everyone in this room a simple question: who here would be willing, with no compensation, to give up 29% of their home, 23% of their property, and 52% of their garage? Who in this room will consider that to be, as the town puts it, a generous offer? This is the very fact why we are here tonight. We do not find this in any way to be a fair offer, let alone a generous one. We know that there are 3 other properties that are affected by this parking lot. We know the other 2 are used as rental properties. We are the only home affected by this parking lot being used as a primary residence. That should mean something, and it should include compassion. It should not include a take it or leave it deal, and it should not mean subjecting to my family to what I can only feel was a threat to my family and our family home. I think this has made this entire situation more upsetting, because to others it's just a house and we shouldn't have an issue walking away. But to us, we were never had the idea of selling our home. We imagined our girls growing up in this house, being typical teenagers who liked having their bedrooms in the basement, having their own living area and room to themselves. We've envisioned it all. And on Friday, January 10th, we were provided with a 5 business day deadline to make a life decision that will affect my family without negotiations. This date has since been extended to January 31st to allow us to speak tonight. Nobody should feel threatened into letting go of their family home, and nobody should be told by the town that if they live in, that if you do not accept our offer that does not allow you to move into a comparable home, then we will simply end up destroying the value of your home by building a parking lot around it. To us, this is completely unacceptable. Since receiving that email, I have not slept. I'm extremely stressed by this approach. In these past few weeks, we have made last-minute requests to meet with a bank, to meet real estate agents, to view homes. Currently, we are in one-income home, as I was laid off in September. I cannot go back in time and change the past, but I can address the concerns I have, and I can address how this entire situation has made me feel. I will not apologize for any of our delays in response, because we were failed to be communicated with for 4 months or longer on this matter. I will not apologize for wanting to spend a possibly last Christmas in our home without dealing with any of this stress and giving my girls a joyous 2 weeks in our home. Furthermore, to address the town in a letter made public for the purpose of this meeting has stated the following, which I find laughable at best. To quote, the remaining property needed for this project at 5509 Broadway Avenue, a single-family home owned by private residents. This negotiation has not gone amicably. The property owners retained a lawyer, and unfortunately, this, coupled with the holiday season, has delayed the communication between their legal representation and the town's consultants, Land Solutions. The town is currently awaiting a counter offer back on our latest firm offer, recently proposed and clarified. From what I'm understanding, it is somehow our fault that things have not gone smoothly, because when we were told by a town representative that they would be turning our home into a parking lot, we decided to seek legal representation. Who in this room would not have done the same? They also point to the fact that things were slowed down by the holiday season, to which I asked Myron, which holiday seasons fall between the 118 days from April 13th public meeting, where you told me that my home would be gone to accommodate a new parking lot, and the August 13th date from when we were finally approached by Sean Howard of the Land Solution Company. The town did nothing for those 118 days and are now trying to make it appear that we are the ones slowing things down. They also say the town is currently awaiting a counter offer back on their firm offer. Now, my understanding of a firm offer is that it is non-negotiable. In an email sent by Terry Toplanitsky dated January 9th, he stated that the town will not agree to any increase in purchase offer, yet the town again tries to make it seem like they're waiting on us and for our counter offer. Are you expecting us to counter less than what the town has offered? If so, then I'm afraid you will have to continue to wait, because no such offer will be made. As this letter goes on, to say, as with our dealing with land acquisition and outlined in the offer of the purchase agreement, we indicated to the property owner via their legal rep that we would follow the general procedures of the Expropriation Act, meaning all their reasonable and fair legal fees will be paid for by the town. First of all, why is the town choosing just to follow the general procedures of the Expropriation Act instead of just going ahead with official expropriation? It is in our opinion and the opinion of our lawyer that they have done this because they are aware of the fact that their offer does not afford us the opportunity to move our home or to move into a home that is equivalent to our current home, as would be awarded to us under official expropriation. Secondly, in a letter from Terry Toplanitsky dated January 17th, when asked by our lawyer if our legal fees would be covered, we got this response: fire will cover all associated costs with legal fees for conveyance of property. The legal definition for conveyance meaning the legal process of transferring property from one owner to another, not our legal fees, and that we have accumulated since first being approached in August 2019. In section 35-2 of the Expropriation Act, it states the owner may obtain advice from any solicitor of the owner's choice as to whether to accept a proposed payment in full settlement of compensation, and the expropriating authority shall pay the owner's reasonable legal costs for that advice. These legal fees are not part of the conveyance of the property and are not being covered by the town, which shows that this is a fabrication and ultimately a lie. Again, the letter goes on to state that the actual current offer proposed is generous based on our professional interior and exterior appraisal, which includes local comparables to determine the value. To this, we would ask for a list of these comparables to be made public to show where in Blackfalds they have found a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom, 1,540 square foot main floor home with 900 square foot attached heated garage that is sitting on a 7,345 square foot lot, because we've found none. To respond to that so-called generous offer, I would like to point out to the town that under Section 50 of the Expropriation Act, we would be entitled to a minimum compensation of 5% of our appraised value, or $15,800 to compensate for inconvenience and costs of finding a new home, plus all moving costs, full reasonable legal fees, early mortgage cancellation costs, and all other expenses incurred because of expropriation. These are all things that we have been told by the town will not be covered and are coming out of our so-called generous offer. To further quote the Expropriation Act, Section 47-1, on application, therefore, the board shall, after fixing the market value of land used for the principal residence of the owner, award such additional amount of compensation as, in the opinion of the board, is necessary to enable the owner to relocate the owner's residence in a combination that is at least equivalent to the accommodation being expropriated. Based on our understanding and that of our lawyer, if the town is going to take away our home, then they can give us fair market value. They can take the land, and we can seek additional money to ensure that we are able to buy a home that is at least equivalent to our current one. This goes back to comparable homes that we have found in the market that, even though they're still not equivalent to our own, they are on average $74,000 more than the town's generous offer. The town then goes on to say, if the property owners insist they want to remain in their existing location, the town can truncate, so shorten the parking lot adjacent to the southern boundary and place a small landscaping buffer between the two land uses. Now again, in an email from Terry dated January 9th, he writes, here's a plan of the layout for your reference. The town-owned property at the rear and north side of Justin's property will be used, and use will be determined over the next year or so. Most likely, expansion of the parking area. The plan he refers to is the one that shows a parking lot around our entire home, to which he confirmed in this email will most likely be the case. Again, the town would have you believe that they are going to only have their parking lot to the south side of our property with a nice landscape border, when in fact they have already told us that more than likely the parking lot will surround our entire home. All of this, we feel, and our lawyer feels, reflects the town's wording of following the general procedures of Expropriation Act instead of actually following through with the official expropriation. They want to follow general rules that allow them to essentially bully us out of our home while paying as little as possible, but want to conveniently avoid parts of the Expropriation Act that were set up to allow homeowners to get fair compensation for what they are having taken away and to be compensated for all of their out-of-pocket expenses that come with expropriation. Now, some people here think we might be unfair or unreasonable, that we are looking for a payday from the town. To this, we would say, when we bought our home, we did not negotiate on price. In fact, our home and our offer on our home was $5,000 above the listing price. We had found our dream home and had found exactly what we were looking for to be in our forever home. The size of the home, the size of the yard we would have for our children, the size of the garage we had, these were factors we considered when making an offer above the listing price. When we bought our home, we were compromising on nothing, and we are now being told we do have to compromise. We are being told that we have to accept the town's offer that would get us. That would be enough to get us into a home that does not come close to what we currently have. And if we fail to accept this offer, we are being told by the town that they will be surrounding our dream home with a parking lot, essentially destroying its value and any chance we would ever want in the future to sell. We have, since August 13th meeting, told the town's representative that we would be willing to move our home as long as the town paid all expenses involved with that move. In this case, we would be receiving no money from the town. We would not be any further ahead financially, and the town would not have to pay us a dime. In this case, the town would get the land that they need for the parking lot, and we would get to keep our home that we love. This, however, has been rejected. They are telling us that we can move our home ourselves, but if the cost to do so is more than they have offered, then we would be responsible to pay those extra costs. If you truly believe that the amount offered to us is in their words, generous, which means to give more than is required, then why does the town not do this? Save taxpayers some money, but in our opinion, that would be the simplest solution, which would give both sides exactly what they want. In a time where Albertans, including myself, are struggling financially, having lost my job and spending our savings to keep our home, I want to know what else you are asking my family to give up because we chose to buy our home 3.5 years ago. We came here today to voice our frustrations, which again were compounded this week through the agenda with inaccurate information, including releasing the address of our home to all the public. When the town going to stop cherry picking the Expropriation Act only in their favor and start the process of actually and move forward properly, respecting our rights as citizens in this community? We have reached out to every level of political authority and advocacy groups available to us, to which they have asked that we follow up with them after tonight. I don't want to be an example, but I wish this town had simply followed the proper protocol and had shown even a minimal amount of respect for me and my family. Had that happened, we would not be standing here today.
Typical government.
Shameful.
Thank you for your presentation. Do you have a copy of that is available that could be provided to council and the CAO? You raised a lot of points in there. Obviously, we don't have the answer to each and every one of those points at this point.
Of course
Come
you
on.
Give me a break.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to the folks who are at the podium right now. Do you have, obviously you don't have an answer to all of the points that you've raised. We are very concerned about everything that
We've raised all these concerns in the past year.
this is the first time it's come to council.
Bullshit. You're doing the same thing to my sister.
So with that in mind, my question is, do you have a copy of that would be available to council and to administration?
I don't have a copy at this moment with me, but I could send a copy. Well, you can see I scribbled out a few things, so you can have this one.
Well, you've raised a lot of points that council wants to consider, and obviously we can't deal with each of them at this point without having a chance to examine them. They weren't provided to us in advance, which is not a complaint. It's just a statement, and because we don't have them in advance, we can't provide answers or comments on them without administration assisting us. So this is going to be dealt with in item 6.2, but before that, council, do any of you have any questions? Councilor Stenby.
I do actually. You said that you have official reports from 2 realtors that you spoke with. Would you be able to provide those to us as well?
I can give you.
Our realtor's here.
Are there any other questions from council? Councilor Taylor?
First of all, sorry for obviously, this has been a frustrating journey for you, so I do understand. Your main objective right now would be to move the house? That would be what you would like to see
You
us
say
do?
that right from the beginning, that we were just never given that option. They want to give us the 350, but any cost above that would then fall on us.
Are there any other questions from council? So as I mentioned with the last delegation, we will be having an administrative presentation under the next order of business. And from there, you're invited to listen to what they have to say and to take points and to ask questions and provide those questions back to us when you provide your information to us. And that way, council can have a really good opportunity to look at the concerns, look at the questions that are raised out of administration's presentation, and then our CEO, council through our CEO will be getting hold of you and discussing different options that are available. Councilor Taylor.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
So, just a question, when you bought the property, did they tell you that we would be putting a road through? Did you know about the road? Okay, so you
That
didn't
it
know.
was in the 5-year plan for like 15 years.
Yeah, it's been there a long time. It started with their traffic study and it's been,
At which point we're like, we won't be on a busy road anymore, kind of, because they also wouldn't be on Broadway, just going to be moved, based on my understanding.
yeah, it goes straight through.
But, yeah, but that was for Womax to Grave Street, I'm not from here, so.
Yeah, so, well, it goes right through where the
Yeah.
duplexes are. It goes straight
But then the crossing that's currently on Broadway was
It's
going to
closed
be
off.
closed.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that we were going to be on our own cul-de-sac, not a big issue for us.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? I'd like to thank you.
Sorry, I'm super naive and I don't know how this all works, but I just have one question. I've never come to a meeting tonight, but I came to support these two. And you say that you knew nothing about this?
No, I didn't say that. I said
You said they
that,
hadn't brought their concerns to you. So what about the people that work for you? So if Myron, why hasn't he come to you and told you all this information? Why hasn't Topolnitsky come and told you all this information? For you guys to sit up there and act like you know nothing.
Exactly.
And don't have any answers for
It's
that.
a
That is really to me as a community member. This doesn't affect me directly, but this affects my friends. And for you guys to sit there and say, oh, we don't have any answers tonight because we didn't know, I
thank,
think that's very ignorant.
thank you.
Sounds a joke.
Excuse me, may I answer that? Thank you for that question. What I said was that we want to address the concerns that were specifically raised by the
Well,
Smiths.
You said you never brought these issues to us until tonight.
No, I
Those
said that
words.
we didn't have those, a copy of that
And you said
presentation.
you raised some concerns that we didn't know about until tonight. There's nothing in there that wasn't talked about between somebody in town. Whether
Okay,
they're officially on the council or whether they're CAO or whatever they are. Why aren't those people talking to you then? Because I think that that is
They are.
very wrong.
thank you for that. We're not going to get into a debate back and forth because that will not be productive to the conversation. We're going to
How
accept,
convenient for
no,
you. How convenient.
that's the way council meetings operate. So, is it okay with yourself if we take your comments and then we move forward?
Everything in here except for our response to the town's latest letter that came out, every single other point in this was brought up with either Myron
Exactly.
or through the town's representative, Sean Howard, at some point over the last
Correct.
10 months.
Okay, so I would invite you to sit down. We will have our, well, no, we'll have our representative, our town staff come up and they're prepared to give a report at this point. And then if there are discrepancies in there, we invite you to write them down and include those questions when you provide us with the presentation.
And we also have a deadline of January 31st at 4:30 for accepting this offer, so.
Vote to extend the deadline.
Yeah,
The least you could do.
Yeah, the very least you can do.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. We are trying to provide opportunities for the Smiths, for Emily to present it. We're doing it in the manner that is dictated by our procedures, and it does not include a debate.
Whatever's convenient for you.
I'm gonna vote to extend the deadline, the minimum.
Yeah.
So I would invite you to take your seats. We will have our town representative come forward, and I invite you to write down anything. CEO Thompson, did you have anything that you wish to add at this point before the presentation?
I'm not at the site.
Okay. So is there anything more that you wanted to say other than what you said? Okay, as I said, we are very interested in your presentation.
Right.
We are listening to what you have to say,
Put your money where your mouth is.
and we're able to receive that as information, and we will respond accordingly. Okay?
I
Thank
would
you.
suggest that the audience in here, remember this the next time there's an election of our mayor and our council.
It's all been videotaped. You should be
Another
ashamed of
recommendation
yourself.
is this. You need to look at your administration and look into possibly disciplinary action. Like what's Sean doing? Waiting that
Correct.
long?
Excuse me, sir. A council meeting is not a
You
spot.
have no answers.
A council meeting is not a spot where we provide debate with the public.
Convenient.
But we
What do you
also-
think the Frenchman did when Macron, the president of France, decided he was gonna raise the gas? Because the Frenchmen protested. That's the problem in Canada. We have no right to protest.
No, we do. You have a right to fire and demand an immediate reelection. You do have that right. You have to remember, everyone has a right, and everyone has a boss.
So at
Elect
this
them
time,
and pay for them.
I would ask the audience to please refrain from any further comments.
Or opinion.
Convenient
or
for you.
opinion.
We are moving forward to the next point of the business, which is to allow our administration
Freedom of
to,
speech,
which
you
is
don't
to
have
allow
to
our
like that.
administration to provide their presentation.
Mhm.
And that's gonna be the next stage, and we're moving into the, there's no public hearing, there's no business arising from the business. The business item, the first point of business is 6.1, which is the seniors delegation. Councilor Taylor, you wish to bring this up?
Yes, from our delegation, we didn't have a business item. There were several issues, everything from storage to possibly caretaking, other issues that were brought up, people using their cabinets, the loss of property. And I think this item here is something that we need to pursue to see what we can do to make it right with the seniors. I think it's something that we have to do. I know that we have a rec board and we have administration, but somewhere we need to itemize the concerns from the seniors and go through them and get it resolved. So because it's a business item, I don't think we are equipped tonight to come up with what that exact thing is, but referring it back to the rec board and administration to meet with the seniors and then report it back to council, I think would be the right thing to do to make sure that we've got it right. So I would leave that as what I think out of the council, but I have opportunity to voice in on.
Are there any other comments from the council? Councilor Stenday?
I'm in absolute agreement with Councillor Taylor, and I would like to also maybe have administration have a look at that library space and see if there's anything that we could do to maybe incorporate some space in there for them. I know that we have some boardrooms that are possibly available, if we could consider those.
Anything else from the council? I would suggest that, go ahead, Councilor Swab.
I also agree with the idea that Jeanette Edwards had regarding having some publicity for the Seniors Club, because there's absolutely nothing in our town for that. I think a lot of people don't know they exist, and I think that we should allow that as well.
Thank you. CEO Thompson, go ahead.
Yeah, I think as well, this is, for me, this is new information that hasn't been brought to consider before. I know that in the last year, more than a year, that there's been some movement in terms of space available for the municipality to use. And we should certainly consider what we have in our inventory by this point is what's available for service clubs. So I would like to add that to the conversation as well.
Thank you. So CEO Thompson, would the recreation board be the appropriate body that we refer this back to?
Yes, Your Worship, normally, activities like these, and other, organizations within the community, we would provide, that information back, to the rec board. And so, we will bring those, concerns that have been raised by the seniors group and bring it to the rec board for.
Actually, the rec board also has a spot for delegations, and I would suggest that it would be more appropriate for them to go into the actual recreation board. And without dictating to the recreation board, I would like to see a subcommittee formed, possibly with a counselor that is within the recreation board, as well as a recreation board member and members from the seniors, to sit down and maybe prior to their delegation, hear their concerns, and make sure that they are well recorded, and they have the opportunity to voice what their concerns are, and maybe give administration some opportunity to look at them as well. Councilor Taylor, did I hear a motion coming out?
Yes, you do. I move that we refer this item to the rec board and administration to be brought back with an elected subcommittee, or bring it back to council and we'll elect the subcommittee. So, is that clear enough? That's pretty choppy.
How
I
about,
could redo it.
how about just
Refer it back.
refer it to administration and council, or part of the administration and recreation board?
Sure.
Is there any debate on that motion? All those in favor? That is carried unanimously. The next item is the Multiplex land acquisition update. And we invite Director Warren.
Thank you, Worship Council. So as we heard previously tonight, the delegation is very concerned with the negotiation that's happened over the last 6 months. I don't think anybody really wants to have to deal with this type of a thing. For clarification, we would pay all fair and reasonable legal costs, including conveyance, not excluding, or only conveyance. Further to that, we've got a requirement to make sure that the tax dollars that we're allocating out across the departments and for these type of procurement needs to follow the proper fair process. So we've gone and gotten an opinion of probable cost and an estimate and basically comparables, and that's what we're using to get to that 350 number. That being said, the ability to move it is definitely there. The issue with that is that there really isn't a lot big enough to fit it on there, but that could be something that could be overcome. I normally paraphrase the whole memo, but with the recent delegation, I'm just going to kind of note that over the past 2 years, we've been moving forward this multiplex expansion project. Over the last 6 months, the town knew that those specific lot requirements would be required. That's when we worked with those 3 most affected owners. We were able to secure 2 of those landowner agreements, basically along the same lines that we've been dealing with Justin Smith and Emily. Further to that, the red area that's shown to be determined on the sketch, I don't know if you can go to that there for a minute. It says to be determined town-owned, so that should be a park, that could be a future parking lot. This is the ultimate configuration. Doesn't mean that that has to be the configuration on day one. Yes, ideally you'd want to have that whole configuration on there for day one, but you look at places like the city of Lacombe or even in Red Deer where you can mitigate those parking with, areas of parking elsewhere of the town. Really, I think that administration, the CAO can provide comments on this, but we'd be fine to extend the deadline. It's just we've been getting one-sided information from their legal representatives. So that's where we're at right now. Obviously, we want to get in there in the spring and remove those buildings as soon as possible. There's a water well on the one site that we found, so we're also gonna have to remove that. And there's still numerous construction design improvements along the land right of ways. There's a major utility route that's going in through there. There's a major storm pond that's gonna have to be built to fix the whole downtown area from a drainage point of view. And obviously, the coordination with CP Rail is just starting today, so that's my report.
Thank you. The one area that was brought forward was the extension of the deadline of January 31st. Do you have any comment on that at this point?
Definitely, Your Worship, that can be accommodated. We understand the situation that the family is in, and there's decisions to be made. When we had provided that timeline, we at that time thought that we were fairly close to bringing this to closure, but if more time is needed, we would definitely provide that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that would go out as a formal notification to the parties that there was an extension, and you would have a discussion. What would that process look like?
Yeah, we'll provide something in writing, Your Worship, so they have that to provide to their legal counsel as well.
Councilor Taylor?
So my understanding through their investigation and through the realtor evaluations, there's a $74,000 difference in what they evaluate at a higher price than what we're offering. Is that what I got from earlier?
There's a big difference between what the real estate market's going for and what the actual asset is worth, unfortunately.
Not their problem.
They're both, they didn't have to have
Not their problem. They didn't want to.
So we will, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead, CEO.
Your Worship, definitely, I think it would be fruitful to engage in some discussions with Emily and Justin and with the solicitor and our staff. The biggest issue is, that I understand, is it's a large square footage home. Most of the homes comparables, I think one that comes closest is about 1,400, which is about 150 square foot less. So the biggest challenge is that size of homes. Even looking at the building itself, I mean, we looked considerably at if there's any infill lots where a home could, like that could fit, but it's quite wide. So most of the lots, especially the newer lots, are smaller. And so moving that house to a different location. When I first had some discussions with Emily, I did mention that through the realignment of Drake Street, we will be creating actually two lots. But the timing doesn't work because that's further down the road. So I mean, you can't pick up the house and set it somewhere for the time being. So there's some challenges to work through, and I think based on the discussions tonight, I think it'd be more fruitful to enter into some of those discussions yourselves without going through the land agent and being able to address their concerns, because I think that improved two-way communication might find its way to a better outcome.
So what I heard is that you are going to enter in direct negotiations with the parties involved and provide an opportunity for them to come in, sit down with you, present all the points that were made, and have a point-by-point discussion on them.
Yeah, Your Worship, we'll draft up a letter extending the timeline and the invitation to meet at a time that's suitable for them.
Councilor Swab?
I do want to say, because Emily and Justin did say they want their forever home, can we really look into finding proper property in town for them? Because Emily is on a lot of our boards and she's very well an active member of our society. And I really think keeping Justin and Emily in our community is great for our community. And I don't think it's right for us to let them go.
CEO Thompson?
We wouldn't want to see them go. We value the whole citizens, including everybody in the room, and we'll do our best to try and accommodate that. We will take a third and fourth time to look at it and the available options for a lot, but as mentioned, we are a very new community. And it's very hard to do that, but we will give that, extend some additional time and effort to do that.
So from the presentation, what motion are you looking for?
We're not looking for, well, I guess your worship, a motion to extend the timeline that's suitable to both the town and the property owners.
Councilor Stanley?
I actually had a suggestion. Have we contemplated or looked at any of the developer lots for perhaps duplexes or any of those larger lots that maybe we could rezone?
We did have initial look. I mean, the duplexes that's being built over here would have been ideal. So we will take a look at some other opportunities. Go back to Walden.
Councilor Hoover?
I'd like to voice, just like Councillor Taylor did, about the you'll empathize, how difficult this situation is. I think from my perspective as a council member, we were aware that this project was looming for a long time. However, and I know that this is something that was a council issue from the time there was public engagement to when we finally voted on this project. But one of the concerns that was brought in this from the delegation was the gap between when we had the public consultation and when homeowners were engaged. From my perspective, I'm assuming that a lot of that was procedural and it was reliant on the timelines for council to move this forward, to improve funding, et cetera. If you could just maybe clarify a little bit, maybe why this took longer than was ideal for the homeowners.
Theo Thompson?
Well, a lot of work was required for design and engineering. The design and engineering, not only for the building footprint itself, but for the parking lot and all the other surface works, power supply, the movement of underground utility lines, things like that. So a lot of time and effort by our consultants to look at that and what those would mean with the final concept. Definitely those things take time, and then over the course of the summer, again, you lose some of that forward thrust. So, projects of this magnitude, and especially combining the Great Street realignment, is a huge challenge for this community, and it's going to be a major change. And I would hope that everybody in the room 10 years from now look back and look at those challenges that we're overcoming, look what the finished product is and how it serves this community.
That's great if you're not getting bullied out of your house.
So, with the extension of the deadline, do you have a date that you would like to propose, or would that be through negotiation and ratified by council?
I think if we could just leave that open, we'll negotiate with the landowner on a date that's suitable to them, that we can both look towards, that would work for both parties.
Okay, may I speak?
No. I'm sorry, excuse me. The reason I'm saying no is because our procedure is very clear. Council does not allow a debate to come forward through.
Yeah, how about the other landowner?
Council does not.
There's another landowner here that is also at stake, that is being bullied out of her home that she purchased 13 years ago. Your evaluation of what that home is worth is $60,000 less than what she paid 13 years ago. Explain that to me.
Excuse me.
I'll be back. It's fine.
Thank you. We would invite you to come back as a delegation
Yeah, I
and
invite you to
present.
get your poop in a group before you sit here and throw this crap out.
I invite you to come back as a delegation and present the facts that you are bringing forward.
I will.
So
I'll be back.
at this point, councilors,
It's a joke.
do you have a motion that you wish to put
You guys are
forward?
a joke.
So you guys are voting on when you're extending the deadline to, so that you
To
can
which
cut them
one
off on
homeowner or the other
offer?
homeowner too? That's what I want to know.
All the
Because there
homeowners?
isn't just one
CEO
homeowner.
Thompson,
There's
have you
another
heard
one, yes.
anything from another homeowner that is in conflict?
100% there is another homeowner in
Your
conflict.
worship, we had some preliminary discussions this past summer with the property owner to the north of the Great Street realignment tie. And those were just preliminary discussions at that time. I'm not aware of any offers that was made by administration, but I will follow up and check on that.
So there haven't been any offers made, so there hasn't been any,
No, just
Any
an
approach?
evaluation for $60,000 less than what she paid 13 years ago. Explain that to me.
I invite you to
So
come
I'm
back to
wondering-
the delegation and present your facts to council at the appropriate
You
time.
bet your butt, I'll be back.
Thank you, I appreciate
Thank you,
that.
thank you.
So council, do you have any motions that you wish to make at this time? Councilor Taylor?
Well, I'd like to move that this item, first of all, that an appropriate expansion of the deadline be given to the landowners and the town to adequately deal with this. And that our administration will meet with the landowners to come up with, hopefully, a deal that makes both parties happy.
Is that an acceptable motion? Would you like to read it back to us in form that? Take a second to
Yeah.
get the words right.
What I have right now is that Councillor Taylor moved the council direct administration to extend the deadline and for administration to meet with the landowners and agree to the terms of the agreement.
I don't know, agree to work out the terms of the agreement.
Okay.
Negotiate?
Negotiate, I think that's a better.
In good faith, Jen.
Okay.
Councilor Taylor,
I'm good with that.
what?
What we just said, negotiate terms
In
in good faith.
good faith, thank you. Councilor Hoover?
Just want to clarify, is that any landholder that has concerns, or are we just dealing with delegations as landholders for this motion?
CEO Thompson?
Your worship, I would suggest this property owner, we're not pursuing anything further than this last additional lot. this time.
Thank you. So at this point, we're dealing with one homeowner, and this motion is concerning that person entirely. Does council understand the motion? Is there any debate on the motion? All those in favor? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. The next item is 6.3, the RV dump relocation and update. Administration?
Thank you, Worship Council. So as part of the previous project that we were talking about, the existing RV sanitary dump station located at corner of Broadway and Stanley will be no longer able to be used at that location due to the redevelopment. Overall, we've looked at a number of different locations here. We've got a budget of $180,000 for this year and $40,000 carried over from previous years. When we were looking at putting that dump facility at the south camp area of All-Star Park or along the north area of All-Star Park. What we're looking for tonight is that we finalize that option to be at the old Public Works site and the current transfer site. This location is going to be the best to obviously not have to do some hardscaping in there because it's all gravel existing. And also it will allow us to have some sort of management over the transfer station. So the transfer station operator there would be able to man the RV station too, to make sure that there's no 2x4s or anything going in there. We could either limit the time of that RV dump between 9 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. Monday to Friday, and 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. If we kept the existing public works gate there, we could always remove that gate as well and just leave it wide open. That would obviously impact more vandalism types of things. And really, the other question for council tonight is, do you want a pays dump system? Because obviously that affects the scope. It's 2 holes in the ground versus, the infrastructure to put all the collections in there.
Thank you. Councilor Taylor.
Yeah, when we looked at this possible site before, I raised a concern, and the concern is turning off the South Street to go down there, and you're moving a bunch of campers back and forth. Transportation wanted that closed, and we managed to keep it open. It'd be different if we were coming into the lights and coming around and being able to get there. I don't like that, and I know the RV dump is important to a lot of people in town, so whatever we do, we should get it right.
To answer your question, Councillor Taylor, we did look at that. Really, the only issue is the southbound left-hand turning movement coming from Esso onto South Street. Really, I've got a camper. If I'm parking or if I'm camping at All-Star Park or someplace like that, or I'm going to dump in half the town, I have the ability to come down south on Vista Trail and down 597 and then north into there. That's how the majority of us probably use the transfer station when we're about
Turning south out. What about turning south out? So you're saying that is fine, but what below? You're crossing 2 lanes of traffic.
Lots of guys are running 45.
Go ahead, Director Warren.
Thank you, Worship. So this isn't the final option. What we'd like to do is, of course, build a proper intersection there. But this is a staged option. So the public works station area has sufficient area to turn around. We don't really have any additional land. We looked at potentially putting it at the LK Blackfalds crossing area, but that would be a future phase. So if this is going to be put in there, we could put it in once, and then we could look at alternative sites, elsewhere around town. What we're recommending tonight is that we proceed with site-specific design options for the new RV dump system to be located at the Public Works and transfer site. The layout that we provided here was really very, very conceptual. I don't know if you want to slide down to that for a minute. There's a couple of different options here. So you could have double lane, one-way traffic. You could build another little area of gravel and have access from both sides. You could put it on the eastern side. There's definitely lots of options there. And further to that, what we're asking is that council move forward to install a pay-as-you-dump system, which would help recover some of these capital costs and save future tax dollars with the maintenance on that site. Further to that, there is really no free dump stations in central Alberta. Most of them are $5 or $10. So
The Comis.
So, Councillor Appel.
Thank you. I did have one question. Have we considered the new Civic Yard site at all for this, only because of its proximity to Highway 2, as well as its proximity to the campground without actually obviously being in the campground?
yeah, to answer your question, Councillor Appel, yeah, we did briefly have some discussions around that, but future improvements will require that to be removed, in later years. So we wanted to put it someplace where it's going to stay for at least a period of 20-25 years.
Councillor Swab, did you want to reply before Councillor, or are you okay with that?
That's fine, I can raise your.
Councillor Swab?
I don't agree with the site just because of the traffic on Highway 2. I see all the campers. I drive by the dumping station almost every day, and there's a lot of campers, 7 to 10 campers, and I can see Highway 2A being backed up with campers trying to turn left. And I just don't think that it should be there just because of that health and safety. I also don't think people that are frequent visitors of Blackfalds are gonna have any clue how to find the place. So I would suggest that we find a different place that's more feasible for a dumping station, and hopefully it would be close to All-Star Park.
Councilor Taylor?
Yeah, when I look at the new site, we have a very large site there that's going to take us into quite a few years into the future. Putting a dumping station there, still to me, I believe to be the best option. We bought the extra land that came with it, taking a lot and using that. It makes sense for being able to get in and out. It's designed for larger traffic to go in there. It is conceptually closer to the ball diamonds. And like I said, I would not vote for this because people doing left-hand turns, going back and forth with big units, going down to the transfer station, unless we had a different road, we had a road that come up through the lights where they come in and they can meander through there, I would feel okay with that. But with the way this is set up, I don't like it.
Councilor Hoover or Councilor Stenby?
I think it's Councilor Stenby first.
So you said some hardscaping would need to be done, and we do own that section to the west of the dog park, which is directly by All-Star Park. What would the estimated cost of that hardscaping come out to be?
Go ahead.
So through the chair to Councilor Sandy, there would be no hardscaping required at the public works yard because it's already all gravel. So we would fill in the ditch lines, and it would be the most cost effective. If we were looking at another location, obviously hard surfacing we probably want to do in those locations. And really, there's lots of viable options. You could put this in numerous locations. The problem is we want to find some place that we don't want to sell the land in 5 to 10 years. We have the land to own to begin with. It's got proper radius turning movements in and out. That's South Street. Even though it's a gravel section, it is a industrial roadway, and that will be ultimately a 9-meter paved cap roadway that goes all the way down to 27-0. Further to that, with public works shop moving out of there, there's really no activity happening at that location that wouldn't allow this to be integrated into it. Further benefits is that our hydrovac truck is going to be sitting down at the old public works shop because that's the best spot to store it. And we have the ability to install the manhole and the hydrovac dump flushing area there just to the east of that location as well, shown on the plans. So there's lots of viable options. We're just concerned that we're running out of time to move this and we don't want the service interruption.
Okay, if I may, you didn't actually answer my question. I'm curious to know what the hardscaping would cost if we were to do it at All-Star Park or that section of land to the west of the dog park that we own.
Between $50,000 and $80,000.
Okay.
CEO Thompson?
Your worship, a few discussions on the RV park. I mean, definitely there's a number of it, but there's a couple areas of concern. The discussions that we had were without Director Barnes because he was off in medical. So definitely, I think based on the discussions tonight, it's deserving of some additional review. This facility has two-way parking, or two lanes, which is great. It adds to the capacity and adds to the amount of land that's needed. Administration heard the concerns when we first brought to council that the All-Star Park would be looked at again, and the concerns of council, you correct me if I'm wrong, was the additional traffic in that area because of the high school. We do have a meeting coming up here in the next few weeks with Alberta Education, talking with the high school. So I think there's an opportunity there to have some discussion with them and find out if that there would be any challenges if a facility like this was located within the All-Star Park. We can also have a discussion with our consultant with Alberta Transportation on any concerns, if it was located at the Public Works, Field Public Works with Highway 2. And so we can bring that back to council at a later date. As Preston mentioned, time passes pretty quickly, and we know that the facility want to be utilized, so we want to make sure that we have this before council, that we can make the best decision for the community.
Thank you. So just for council's information, I'll get back to you. There were 8 emails that we received from different citizens throughout the day, and the majority of them were concerned about the left-hand turn off of Highway 2A onto South Street. That was a major concern. The majority of them suggested that they didn't feel that pay per use is appropriate. And I did have one back that said that he thought that the site was an appropriate site, but they had concerns with the left-hand turn from the highway. So that's a basic summary of the 8 that all of council received. We'll make sure that administration has all of these 8 so that they can utilize them in their considerations. I also would like to just suggest, CEO Thompson touched on it, but we want to ensure that any development at All-Star Park does not challenge or cause concerns for the moving forward of our high school within that area. I think that has long been a priority for the town, and I would hope that the Recreation Board could relook at the whole All-Star Park design plan. We have one that's in front of us, and currently that design does not show an RV dump within there. So hopefully the Recreation Board could revisit that, and with this consultation from the school board and any other parties that are needed, find out whether that's an appropriate site. And from what I heard you say, that we would possibly look at all 3 sites that would be available, and they would come back to the council in short order with a recommendation. Sorry, I think I cut you off, Councilor Hoover.
Well, I think part of my comments have been stated already. I would have a hard time supporting this with the concerns over the traffic and the turning issues of 2A. I mean, I don't pull an RV myself, and I've had difficulty pulling onto that road, so I know that would be a challenge. Some of the other questions had to do with location in the community and convenience, etc. I'm not sure that we could satisfy everybody in that respect, and in terms of longevity for where this for this facility, it would make sense to be in that old public works area, with the exception of the fact that that road is I think under capacity for the needs now. If we had a solid plan as to when that intersection could be dealt with, that's a different story. And I know that there's time precious here, but I go back to this. I have asked this question before, and I think it was brought up again, why the new lands that the town has acquired is not an ideal site for this. It's kind of in the vicinity of where this was being considered before. So I would definitely need some reasons why that site is not a applicable site. Because in my mind, it's also there's going to be future work in terms of tying that building in to water and sewer. So I don't know. I know that costs are different depending on how long they're delayed and staging, etc. But the big glaring problem to me is that traffic and whether or not that's going to cause us some serious issue in the short term.
Councilor Stemme, did I see?
You did.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. I don't see how a high school there could make a huge difference, considering the majority of people do their camping in the summer and school is out then. So I would be interested to hear if you could maybe tell me why that was a concern.
Councilor Pell?
He can reply.
Your worship, through Councilor Stemme, I believe it was a concern brought forward by council to the administration. Am I wrong?
Yes.
I do not remember that.
I think it was a question of area, space, the amount of space that it would take,
Okay.
and whether or not the design could be placed in there, and the reallocation of spaces within there, with all the things that are planned within that park. Councillor Pell?
Thank you. My comment was just in regards to the payment and the fees that we were discussing. Would there be a way we could implement something similar to what we have at the transfer station where residents are able to get in without payment, but visitors, if using the site, would pay? That's a feasible option if we can look into that as well.
Director Warren indicates that that is possible, so we would look at all the different options for that and explore those and bring that back at the same time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Over.
Yeah, I have to agree with Councilor Hoover and Councilor Taylor about, the design that we're showing here not being very adequate. The area might be appropriate, but it just doesn't seem like it's any better than what we've got. So I would like to see something, some of the other options explored.
Thank you. There's also a site that I forwarded to you earlier on that shows all the pay RV dumps as well as the conditions. Maybe you could summarize an area surrounding us and bring back the results of that. And as well, how many communities actually have a RV dump and how many don't have any facility available. So I think what I'm hearing is that we're referring this back to administration. Is that what you were requesting at this point? Councilor Hoover?
Yeah, I'll make that motion to refer the sanitary dump relocation and upgrades back to administration.
And naturally, when they're referred back, administration has taken the notes that we mentioned and will take those into consideration during their deliberation. Debate on the motion? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. We now move on to 6.4, the CEO report.
Thank you, Worship. Council. That's a lot of things going on. We continue to work on our internal intermunicipal collaboration committee, working on going with Macomb County in efforts to strive to reach an agreement before the April 1st deadline. Capital grant funding application has been submitted to the Macomb County for capital cost share for the Multiplex expansion, and we're expecting that application will come before their council at an upcoming meeting in February. Negotiations on the arena licensing, agreement and the advertising agreement have both concluded over the past couple weeks. Council was briefed on both of these agreements, and the final terms in these agreements remain as communicated with council. Negotiations continue with the ownership groups of the Blackfalds Mobile Home Park for the lands required for the Green Street realignment. We have had a conference call with both representatives from both Prestigious Properties and the Blackfalds Estates last week. Meeting has been scheduled with Albert Health for February 27th in Red Deer. The meeting will include the Central Zone Medical Director and Associate Zone Medical Director, as well as the Director of Medical Affairs, Mayor Poole and myself. And our objective is to be able to communicate the dire situation our community faces relative to the lack of medical practitioners and seek some assistance in mitigating these concerns. The same topic, we have sourced some interest in a potential physician interested in possibly establishing a practice in Blackfalds. And we have a meeting and tour of the community scheduled for this Thursday. And we're putting much effort in the development of this opportunity. So council will debrief further once that meeting takes place. I have been in communication with managers of Alberta Education and Wolf Creek Public Schools on the provision of information and needs relative to the development of new high school. Meeting is scheduled for the week of February 17th for all parties involved to facilitate further discussions with the objective of clearing any hurdles that may stand in the way of the high school being announced. The transition process for both Public Works and Parks and Facilities departments is moving into the new operations center is proceeding well. The building has been cleaned, IT has updated communication systems, locks and fobs have been updated, and the old signage has been taken down with the new signage going up tomorrow. Office space allocation has been assigned, as well as assignment of fleet and equipment locations have been determined as well. Crews are currently moving over equipment and materials to the new building. We're very pleased and extend much thanks to Parkland Fuels and Regular, who have donated large quantity of office furnishings and fixtures for the space. Talking to Manager Morrison earlier tonight, he indicates it's kind of unbelievable the amount of office furnishings that we received, and there's more coming tomorrow. So we're very happy about that, and we will pass on a big thank you from administration and council for that. Finally, we're looking at having an open house, a public open house for the facility. We're looking at an afternoon, and it would be a come and go type of event that would include refreshments and tours and things like that. Right now, the tentative date that we're looking at is Friday, March 13th. There's nothing definitive, but we just wanted to, if there is any reason why council feels it would be a good date. I know it's not a lucky time, but I'm not superstitious about that. And so we just want to celebrate that and allow the public to come in and use the facilities. Attended the AUMA Financial Summit with Mayor Poole held on the evening of January 22nd and all day the 23rd. Quite certain Mayor Poole will provide council more insight into the value of these discussions later in the meeting. Municipal Sustainability Plan process continues. We did have a presentation draft review at the recent Standing Committee of Council. The additional processes, including a public review. We are targeting formal approval to take place by mid-March. Working on the CAO work plan, which will be provided to council at the upcoming council meeting. We're also working on the report to the community, which we plan to have completed by the end of February. Infrastructure and Property Services recently met with Alberta Transportation and Alberta Environment on our proposed revisions to the West Area Stormwater Management Plan. As a result of our testing, the discussions, remodeling, and updating of the engineering over the last year and a half, the town has received permission from the province to amend the Vista Trail West Water Act approval, which will allow the Tutty Pond, the downtown area, and Highway 2A basins to converge storm flows into the Blackfalds crossing Storm Pond, and ultimately go south to the Alberta Transportation gravel pits and onto the river. So this is a very important consideration that we received, and will result in excess of $1 million in savings from the original scope that was proposed by the province in 2018. Alberta Transportation Central Alberta has a new highway maintenance contractor. The name is Mainline. The company is currently working to get familiar with the Central Alberta Highways network, and will be looking to remedy a number of issues within our boundary, including the replacement of signs that have been knocked over, removal of unauthorized signage from Highway 597, ditch and road right away. We hope to also make some headway in having needed road surface repairs undertaken on Highway 2A, and as well, hopefully revisiting the unwanted weed growth in the roundabout as spring approaches. Administration is working on options for the continuance of the Blackfalds transit system. Upcoming initiatives include scope and service meetings that are currently being scheduled, so council will have that information come forward in the near future. East Area Phase 1 Stormwater Project well underway now, with project meetings and on-site visits required regularly with department staff and consultants. We are pleased to report that all of our public works operators that are responsible to complete weekend and all-call rounds of our water and wastewater facilities have successfully completed their testing, and they're certified as small system operators by the province as per the recent update to the water and wastewater operating regulations. This certification, along with our planned efficiency structuring and processes, will allow our public works department to continue to offer the highest level of customer service and professionalism that our residents have grown to trust. Environmental stewardship strategy research and development is well underway, which includes identifying future bylaw and policy updates that were required. Infrastructure Services has developed a lead management strategy that meets Alberta Environment and Parks requirements and deadline of January 1st of this year. So we are continuing to work on the development of implementation strategy and communication plan to start conducting sampling, which will commence in May. Currently, we're up to date on our snow removal and clearing functions. Ice control maintenance continues as required. Crews have had some delays in taking down Christmas lights and decorations due to the breakdown in their genie lift. I believe that repair has been made, so those lights and decorations will be coming down, as well as a repair will be made on the LED sign on Highway 2A, which isn't functioning on the north side. The IDP third final reading took place on recently, so that was a major accomplishment. Recently welcomed our two new employees, including Jamie Hobbs, who is our new asset management GIS coordinator. Jamie is here tonight, so we welcome him. And we also welcome our new deputy fire chief, Mike Elder. Mike commenced his duties on January 13th. We've been facilitating AmShop Prime contractor safety training, as well as other associated training needs. The HR policy handbook reviews taking place for corporate services, as well as marketing communications. We've dealing with some staffing disability claims and WCB claims. They're ongoing. We've had a discussion, firefighter remuneration discussion based on the CRA decisions, budget and payroll considerations relative to all firefighters. They're not being classified as employees as per CRA. So a number of changes and implementations relative to those changes will be taking place over the next year or so. With IT, the updated Diamond with year-end update, replace the phone system. Right now, there's some fine tuning that's taking place. Administrator trainings set for Wednesday. We're looking at providing the best customer service through our phone system. And so we've been having ongoing discussions how that will be taking place. Policy and bylaw has been completed, records management, SharePoint project ongoing, and Council K Drive to be moved into SharePoint with the rollout to Council by the end of February. This will include 3 ways for Council to access the K Drive from any location that has an internet connection. Council members will have another drive for which to store, retrieve, and back up town-related work and documents as well. Animal licenses and business licenses have been generated. Year-end work is well underway, and year-end plan has been established for the work. It includes cutoff dates for modules. Everything is on track, including cash, bank, inventory, payroll, utilities, and taxes. Those have been completed and finalized on the last day of the year. Accounts receivables cut off for mid-January. Accounts payables processing the final run of the year at the end of January, and then we will be manually accruing payments significant that is received after that cutoff. Project costing is being reviewed but cannot be finalized until AP is complete. Our auditors were on site for 3 days here recently, so they could begin testing and documenting our controls, procedures, policies, and compliance. They have some more preliminary work and planning that they will be completing back at their office, and expect to be back on site the first week of March to continue the audit. During the last part of December, completion took place of the final approved operating and some capital budget documents for staff and council. PDF document of the budget is also posted to our website. Prior to the end of the year, review of the analysis of RCMP lease and operation and maintenance was undertaken, and that the analysis as was prepared and presented from the RCMP administration, and the amount they owed was invoiced and received prior to the end of the year. The reconciliation is now on track for 2019 to be reviewed and analyzed. Fire department's been working on training for vehicle extrication. The fire department on January 18th held first aid recertification training, and the fire department will be participating and assisting once again with Winterfest. With municipal enforcement, there was 11 violation tickets written in the month of January as of last week, including 6 seatbelt tickets, 2 speeding, 2 failed to produce registration, and 1 failed to obey a stop sign. Officers are continuing to work on the liquor bag program with the schools in partnership with the RCMP School Resource Officer. Officers will be working over the next week or so ensuring compliance with snow clearing due to the recent cold front. Officers were given residents time to clear paths. 26 investigation files have been opened to date, with dog complaints of snow clearing making up the bulk of those complaints. And Manager Morrison attended the Macomb County, Red Deer County Rural Crime Watch meeting on January 13th. The Crime Watch group has agreed to hold their annual general meeting March 14th in the town of Blackfalds. From the RCMP standpoint, 2 Calgary residents were arrested in Blackfalds on January 6th. They were found to be in possession of break-in tools and have been going through vehicles in town. The RCMP has been able to maintain good staffing levels, which we're pleased with. Emergency management, Manager Morrison met with the Macomb Regional Emergency Management Planning Contractor. Arrangements have been made for Blackfalds to host the ICS 300 course on February 18th, 20th, which will bring several of our regional partners together. Manager Morrison and Manager Bourne attended Macomb County Emergency Exercise training as observers, and that's my report.
Thank you. Councilor, are there any questions? Councilor Pell.
Thank you. Now that Alberta Transportation has a new contractor, as well as our other issues, are they also going to be looking at fixing the safety issues that AT said they wouldn't be doing, like potholes and line painting?
Yeah, we definitely will follow up with them on that.
Councilor Taylor?
Yeah, I was interested in the CRA change for the firefighters. Would they qualify? Probably don't have enough time limits per week to qualify for benefits and pensions, or would they?
Well, some of the initial indications that I have, that we have to pay vacation pay to 4% on every pay, and they will have to be provided overtime for being called in on stat holidays, things like that. So right now we're just looking at what the requirements are. We will be having some additional discussion tomorrow night at the Macomb Regional Fire Services Advisory meeting, seeing what other municipalities are doing. But my understanding is that some of the municipalities in the region have already initiated some of these. Some of these that we're working on, some will be delayed until next year.
Cindy?
I'm extremely pleased to hear that we have a potential new doctor coming to town and that we finally got our AHS director meeting. I'm just curious if we could maybe keep council updated as soon as we know anything or we've heard anything from that meeting.
Definitely.
Any other questions? I have a motion to accept this for information. Council Cindy?
So moved.
Debate, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Moving forward, we have 6.4, the video surveillance policy. Invite Director Presser.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. So before you do have policy 140.20, which is the video surveillance policy. This policy was presented at the January 20th Standing Committee meeting, and the recommendation coming out of that meeting was to bring it before Council for formal approval. Tonight, the recommendation is that Council move to approve policy 140.20, being the video surveillance policy for the town of Blackfalds. With that, I won't go through the memo as we reviewed it last week, and I'll be open for any questions.
Councillor Bell?
Thanks. Actually, I just had one question. The signage samples that are in there, are those existing signage or potential signage?
The new signage, yeah.
The new signage? Okay, just because the policy number on there is still the old policy number.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to mention it. Thanks.
Councillor Hoover?
Yeah, since we went through it last time, a question came to mind. It says in here for the reason for the policy is the end of it anyway, strictly for crime prevention, crime detection, and aiding law enforcement. Would it potentially be used for accident investigation, fire investigation, or is it strictly criminal law investigation that this is limited to?
No, the request form there for RCMP or anyone like that is requesting the information will go through the full process. But if that information can be used in an investigation as such, it will be released upon report review.
Subsequent. I just wonder then if under the designated staff, if perhaps we should have the fire chief and deputy fire chief also able to look at this if they're going to be potentially investigating it rather than drawing in another staff member. That would be the only thing that I see missing.
Did you want to comment on that, or?
Your worship, I think we have a defined process that will be in Councilor.
Any other questions? I guess I just have one question, and that is that this policy was recommended and approved by the standing committee. And my question is, CEO Thompson, are we changing the procedure? Normally, whenever we approve it at standing committee, doesn't it come from standing committee to the council meeting?
Yes, your worship. I did have discussion with the director, and that was an oversight on our part that the recommendation should be coming from the standing committee. That's standard protocol for us.
Let it go. I mean,
Yeah, sorry,
when your first time from standing committee to here, so we'll
my
say yes to
apologies
that.
on not missing that, but
It's still a relative newbie.
definitely learned that lesson this week.
Right. Are there any other questions from council? Not seeing any. I'm sorry, Councilor Stenday.
Oh, not a question. I'm prepared to move that we approve policy 140.20 being the video surveillance policy for the town of Blackfalds.
Thank you. Is there any debate on that motion? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Moving forward to the investment policy.
Excellent, thank you, your worship and council. So before you, you have policy 141.20, which is the investment policy for the town. Once again, this policy was presented at the January 20th standing committee meeting, and recommendation coming out of that meeting was to bring it before council for formal approval. So recommendation tonight is that council move to accept the recommendation of the standing committee to approve policy 141.20 being the investment policy for the town of Blackfalds. And with that, I'll open up for any questions that you may have.
Council, do you have any questions? Not seeing any. Councilor Hoover?
I'll make the motion that council move to accept the recommendation of standing committee of council to approve policy 141-20 being the investment policy for the town of Blackfalds.
Discussion? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Moving forward, we have the overdraft policy.
Thank you, Council and Worship again. So before you have the authorized overdraft policy, you will notice that the policy extension number has changed. It was written in 2019, but now we're in 2020, and it will be 1240/20, which is being the authorized overdraft for the town. The bylaw once again was presented at the January 20 standing committee meeting, and And the recommendation coming out of that meeting was to bring forward the bylaw for first reading. Tonight, the recommendation that I'm going to verbally give will be a little bit different to the written one that is in the memo. The motion should read that council move to accept the recommendation of the standing committee to give first reading to bylaw 1241/20, being the authorised overdraft for the town of Blackfalds. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Council? Deputy Mayor Olford?
I'll move that council move to accept the recommendation of the standing committee to give first reading to bylaw 1241/20, being the authorized overdraft for the town of Blackfalds.
Debate on the motion? All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Moving down the line, access to information.
Excellent, thank you, Your Worship and Council. So before you have bylaw 1242-20, which is the access to information bylaw for the town. The bylaw was presented again at the January 20th standing committee meeting, and the recommendation coming out of that meeting was to bring it before council for formal approval for first reading. The recommendation tonight is that council move to accept the recommendation of the standing committee to give first reading to bylaw 1242-20, being the access to information bylaw for the town of Blackfalds. And I'll open up for any questions.
Mr. Pell?
Thank you. I don't have a question, but I am prepared to move that council move to accept the recommendation of the standing committee to give first reading to bylaw 1242.20, being the access to information bylaw for the town of Blackfalds.
Debate on the motion? All in favor? That is carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to 6.8, the branding project update. And we're inviting
The branding team.
the branding team. Thank you. I was going to name you all, but the branding team is wonderful.
Good evening, Your Worship. Also, thank you. To start off, we'll just do a little refresher. As most of you know, in 2019, we brought together numerous key stakeholders from the community to learn about community branding. And from there, we created the Brand Development Committee, who then presented to council our initiative for branding. The recommendation report outlined the best practices, proposed activities and timeframes, as well as anticipated budget amounts. Council then approved the funding for the 2020 branding project on November 26th, and then we got to work. Shortly after that, our communication on the project began, from developing the Brand Blackfalds webpage, which became live on January 2nd. The project information was issued with all January 2020 utility bills, including Abbey newsletter, Top of the Town. The news release was issued on January 9th, 2020, followed by the announcement on the town's social media Facebook page on the 10th. And interviews were conducted by Sunny 94 and Macomb Express. We created postcards advising of the project and related webpage that are located here at the municipal facility at the front desk, as well as other community venues like Service Credit Union and others that have been handed out to numerous businesses in the community. We emailed messages to staff and council, as well as other municipal partners. We had pop-up information booths at public event venues, such as the January 17th PD skate, the January 19th free skate, and the January 25th. We were at the Abbey Center on the January 25th. We also had presentations to town boards and committees and community groups.
Another part of the branding project that was outlined by the Brand Development Committee in the report that was brought to council in September was that a review of all the municipal plans would be undertaken, just to ensure that both the process for the branding project and the inevitable rollout of whatever brand came to be would both align and support the priorities and goals that are outlined in all of our municipal plans. I don't want to go through all of them, but some of the highlights that you might see there, municipal sustainability plan, goal there to improve community resiliency and capacity to adapt effectively to change. growing community engagement, diversifying our economy, developing a strong plan to market Blackfalds to targeted external markets, and advancing regional collaboration. So those goals and priorities, along with all the other ones that are listed with the various plans, I believe we're going to ensure that the process for the branding project and the eventual outcome of the branding itself will support and help to advance all of those goals.
In addition to that, we also undertook the brand audit. So we gathered all the materials listed in the report that you see, including some of the municipal plans, program marketing, event signage, stand-up banners, community guides from the last 10 years, student equipment, corporate apparel, et cetera, and we basically lined them all up in the gallery and looked at them to see, where we were lacking, I guess, in our branding. And while doing the brand audit, I was reminded of an article that talks about the benefits of branding, which states, the materials used in your town's marketing portfolio may look great, but without a brand strategy, it will be a matter of luck as to whether there's consistency in their look, story, and message. So often the ad of the month syndrome is at play, where marketers constantly change their communication in the hope of finding a message that will strike the right chord. So while over the years we've greatly improved our marketing communications, the brand audit revealed that we suffer from a sort of marketing schizophrenia where there is no consistency. So the overall impression we got from this exercise is that generally, apart from the logo on all of the items, there's no cohesive messaging or unified imaging. You really have to look to see whether it belongs to the town of Blackfalds. And in addition, there were various different fonts, styles, sizes, colors, formatting. The logo itself has 39 different versions. And when using the slogan, the black writing in the blue part is not very visible. Can't really tell what it is. We also have no defined swatch palette, and therefore over the years we've implemented various different colors. We also found a lot of different shapes were used, like circles, waves, triangles, dots. Our team takes care in using real pictures, but don't have a common feel, and often the photos are combined with various other graphical elements like vector graphics and even flip art. We also found that we use language that is unique to that event or the campaign, but the messaging is not consistent due to lack of brand direction. So as a group, the branding committee concluded that Blackfalds would really benefit from a defined and unified system of visual components that includes colors, visual standards and guidelines, and messaging.
The last thing that we wanted to bring to you tonight as an update is the next steps with respect to the logo and tagline testing survey. So I'm sure that you are aware that that has been open to the public through an online survey. That closed this morning. We had 217 responses to that survey, and there was also a number of one-on-one interviews and focus groups that were held as well, and we were able to reach another 151 respondents to the survey as well. So 368 survey responses were received as of this morning. So we will be busy putting all those together into a chart and highlights format for you, as has been the way we've done the presentation of survey results from recent both transit surveys and business satisfaction surveys. So we'll compile that for you, and that will be brought to you at the February 11th. Do you have any questions?
Council Seve.
So you said you're going to compile it. Are we going to get all of the comments that are made on that, or are you only going to be selecting certain comments? Because I would very much like to see all of the comments that are made on that survey.
I had a discussion internally with respect to how that would be presented, and it was my understanding that that would be setting a precedent that because we've guaranteed people anonymity in the survey, They were told that their names and all identifying information about them would be stripped away. So we thought that continuing in the vein of the highlights and the way it's been done with the whole transit survey and the business satisfaction survey, which was also respondents were guaranteed anonymity in that one as well.
If I may, I'm not asking for names. I'd like to see the actual comments, which has never been a problem in the past with any survey when I've asked to see the actual comments. I'm not asking for people's names or their personal information or private information. I would just like to see and be able to read for myself every comment that's made on that survey.
As with the business satisfaction survey, there were comments made that you could tell who the person was by what the comments were. And so I did not share those with council. The respondents have been told that their anonymity would be guaranteed. So I don't mind sharing some of the comments, but if it's clear who's making the comment based on what the comment is, then I don't feel that we should be sharing that.
CEO Thompson?
Hi, Your Worship. We did have a discussion internally, if this is something that council feels that they would want, and we would ask to provide that formal request to us as council.
And what are the pros and cons from your perspective?
I believe, just as a staff member indicated, that through that information may be determined who to make those comments. Our path forward was to go on what we've done in the past in other surveys, and summarizing that information and bringing it to council. So if we're looking at taking a different directive on that, if council could provide that in resolution, we would be pleased to provide that.
And is there a possibility there would be a FOIP issue within that?
Quite likely, yes. We'd have to check with our FOIP coordinator.
Councilor Stanton?
If I may, when we have had surveys in the past, for example, the hen survey, we got every comment that was made and we're able to view those for ourselves. So it isn't setting precedent. It is something that we have done before. And I do not think that it is exceptional that I ask to see those comments.
We did state that it would be anonymous on all the communication advertising survey. I don't know how it was presented for the hen survey. I can't speak to that.
Councilor Hubert?
With respect to that privacy, I understand you're trying to determine whether or not somebody would know but I would have to support what Councilor Stenny is saying in terms of I'd be happy if you strip away the name, the identity. If there's wording in there that's possibly identifiable, I think that's probably at the discretion of the person making that comment. I think as long as we're specifically removing the name and address, that's probably in the spirit of what we mentioned in the survey. That would be my position. I mean, unless they're putting their name in the comment, and maybe we could remove that. But I'm not sure what would there be comments that directly link it to a person?
There's a number of staff, all staff in fact, that completed the survey. So yeah, there's definitely comments that have been made that would identify who the staff member was that said that.
Councilor Powell?
Or business owner as well.
Just a question, could they not be sent to council under a confidential item? We're concerned if there's FOIP concerns? Just trying to figure out how we can make that work. Thank you.
I guess from my perspective, I would respect the fact that each point being made could be stated. For example, we like the font 8.5, and how many people made that point. And all of those points, they could be summarized with the number of people who were supporting or if they were opposing that. I could see that being a summary that would be useful to myself. I respect the fact that we have a number of staff, a number of business owners, etc., who speak very passionately and really do say what they think in ways that are identifiable to those of us who have been within the community for quite some time. So for me, I would respect the request of administration to only provide summaries, providing we have the number for, the number against, and a really good, and I have no difficulty knowing that our branding team would provide that in an unbiased manner. So that would be my position on this. Does any other council want to weigh in on it? Deputy Mayor?
I wouldn't mind seeing the comments as well, and we should be able to strip out any identifying factors, and if the whole statement is too far gone to be intelligible, we can just take it out. I'm okay with that.
Councilor Swab?
I would definitely like to see all the comments too. And I do think doing it confidentially would be great, just to avoid the anonymity of those people.
So the purpose of this was to accept for information this report. Council has that opportunity, or they could make another motion if they so chose. Councilor Stanley?
I would like to accept this as information, and I would also like to direct administration to ensure that council sees all of the comments made on the survey, whether that be anonymously through a confidential item or however administration sees fit, but I do think that we need to see all of them.
Debate on that motion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's just carried.
Thank you.
Do you want to stay for the home show schedule?
Sorry?
Home show schedule?
Oh, no, I'm going home now.
This is the exciting part.
So, yeah, great, thank you, Your Worship and Council. This is an update for you again on the home show that is happening this year. It's March 6th to 8th this year. Pretty similar to previous years, except that the Builders Association has decided on a new floor plan, so we do not have the same booth location as we had previously. We have picked hopefully a good location. We've kind of got two corner booths, and so it should give us a lot of exposure. We will learn, I guess, this year from whether or not that's the location we want to be and whether it continues to be a benefit for us to participate in the home show. So there is a schedule that is attached for you. It has gone to the Economic Development and Tourism Board, and some members have also signed up as well. So this is your invitation should you wish to join us. We would love to have your presence. As always, just promoting our town, being available to talk to community members and prospective businesses and residents. So I would invite you to either email me directly or you can send me information possibly through them. You can forward it to me and we'll fill out that schedule. I can get you parking passes and vendor badges and all that good stuff, same as previous years.
So is it in a different spot than it has been in the past?
It is, the entire floor plan has changed, so, yeah, completely different from what they've done in the past. And I believe they opened it up first to members of the building association, which the town of Blackfalds is not, so we didn't really even get a chance to be like first grab a spot or whatever. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see. I think the economy has impacted this event as well, as many others. Doesn't seem like it's, filling up like it has in previous years. So, yeah, we'll see if it proves to still be advantageous for us to participate.
Councilor Taylor?
Yeah, I love attending the home show. I got an email from my friend, he's working in Calgary. Say, hey, come on down to this concert. So we just spent $200 each for tickets for us to go to this event. So I'm going to see if I can maybe take Friday off and attend part of it because we're going to go down Friday evening and stay and come back Monday halfway through the day.
So you're not going to give up the tickets so that you can come and be with me at the home show?
I don't want somebody else going with my wife.
Fair enough. Okay, that's great.
Okay, so, motion to accept this for information. Deputy Mayor Clifford,
I'll move to accept the schedule for information.
debate, all those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the special permit.
Thank you, Worship. This is permits for the upcoming Winterfest for the outdoor winter community event. And as council is aware, we made this slight change here over the last number of months, bringing special permits as a business item. So council and all of the various departments are aware of the event and plan and schedule accordingly.
Questions? So we would accept this for information.
Yes, Your Worship.
Councillor Swab,
I'll move to accept this as information.
debate, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Moving on to the Remembrance Day service discussion.
This past December, council and I had some brief discussion on the Remembrance Day service. Shortly after the Remembrance Day event, it might have been close to the end of November. I met recently with Kyle Kloss of the Blackfalds Pastoral Society to discuss the recent Remembrance Day event. We both acknowledge the importance and success of the event, especially now that the services has been held over the last number of years in the Abbey Center. Mr. Kloss indicated that he and two other pastors take turns in organizing and facilitating the service. The group understands the importance of honoring past and current Canadians in the military service and are proud to be involved in the annual Remembrance Day service at Blackfalds. They also greatly appreciate having a facility provided to them and the support they receive in ensuring that the event is successful. They also acknowledge that the growing attendance has taken place annually as well. I indicated to Mr. Kloss that the council and the residents of our community appreciate the efforts as well. We did have some discussion on the message that's provided at that event. They take a lot of pride in inviting as many uniformed men and women and youth and those serving to be part of that celebration. And they strive to provide a message that is approximately 50 minutes in length. That's what they aim for. And the message is meant to be in the context of remembering those who have sacrificed their lives and who have served, and also those that are serving currently. The inclusion in the service of others and the laying of wreaths provides a memorable event worthy of those who we are remembering. So it was a good meeting, and we promised to stay in touch and have some additional discussions prior to the event for next year.
Councillor Bell?
Sorry, just one quick question. Was that 15 minutes or 50 minutes?
15.
15, okay. That's okay.
Were there any other questions? Not seeing any. Could we have a motion to accept this for information? Councillor Hoover,
I'll motion to accept for information.
debate, all in favor? Carried unanimously. We do not have any active correspondence tonight, and we're moving on to the information items. Item 1 is DTAC minutes from September 9th. DTAC minutes from November 4th. FCSS minutes from December 5th. MPC minutes from November 25th. Macomb County Council highlights. Stop me if you have any questions. RDR MUD October 2019 report and statutory plan guide. Could you slide that down a little bit? That report has gone to administration and we are requesting that they look at considering including that within our statutory planning documents as they move forward. And we have fantastic response from our staff in working on this and finding out whether they're applicable to our community. 8.7 Alberta Community Affairs 202 Assessment Year Modifier. Any questions on that? Not seeing any. Councillor Swab?
I'll move to accept all the information items as information.
Thank you. Debate on the motion. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Moving on to our round table, and that is from all the way from November 16th to January the 15th. So it's a little bit longer than normal. And we'll start with Councillor Appel and move to the right.
Thank you, Mayor Poole. Man, who remembers what happened in November? It was a busy month leading up to Christmas, and then things certainly slowed down a little bit. The Cape AGM was in Red Deer, and that was on November 20th, and that was actually quite an interesting presentation. The keynote speaker had a financial background, and he talked quite a bit about future projections, and that was really interesting. I was glad to be able to attend the meeting with the Minister of Transportation. Otherwise, there was lots of fun stuff going on. Holiday train was fun. I attended the volunteer open house with Councillor Stendy and Councillor Olfert, and thought that went well as well. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Olfert?
So, yeah, I missed putting the holiday train on the list, but it was quite an interesting time. Seeing it from the train, see all the people out there is pretty cool. Yeah, transportation minister meeting was interesting. And we went the side events that happened. Policing committee on the 4th. Was the library board prior to that on the 3rd of December. Bureau executive on the 5th, and the FCSS meeting as well. A lot of meetings that day. The new building for PRL is moving forward. Finally, after a long stretch. The regular council meetings, volunteer Christmas party for a first-time event turned out really well. A lot of people there flew in and out, so it's nice for them. And then brand new library board meeting, beginning of years, and FCSS and council last week, or 2 weeks ago.
Thank you. Councillor Appel? That too. I apologize, Councillor Swab.
Okay.
I very much apologize.
That's okay. November 18th, I attended the standing committee. November 20th, I attended the Cape event with a bunch of councillors and some of our economic and development committee. On November 24th, I attended the Light of Blackfalds. It was great to see so many people out there. I think it was the best event that we had with Light Up Blackfalds ever. Then I was away for a few weeks because my son and I got rear-ended and they needed to heal from that. So January 6th is when we all started back, and I went to my Economic Development and Tourism Advisory Committee meeting, and the 7th, the MPC training, the 7th again, Library Board meeting. It's great to see the final plans of the library, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about what's going to happen with the library. On January 9th, St. Gregory the Great School Council, they're growing, and with staff, they're at about 651 people in that school. And January 14th, Municipal Planning Commission, and January 14th, again, the regular council meeting.
Thank you. We'll try to get it right. Councillor Taylor.
Yep. So pretty slow for me. This is usually very much more stuff on there. Standing committee on November 18th, NPC meeting. I forgot about the NPC training. I just totally forgot we had done that. The council meeting with Wolf Creek prior to council, and the transportation. That was quite a different day for us that went to that meeting. That was the day we went in and somebody was standing on the step, and we had no idea that would create a delay in our meeting. And it's unfortunate that was the day that somebody took their life from the step of the legislative building. So it was unusual for us, for sure. Council meeting, in between here, I had a vacation days that I spent out at Rocky doing renovations for my daughter. And on January 8th, Mayor Poole stepped in for me because I had the flu and I was out for a week. NPC meeting on the 14th and council meeting on the 14th.
Thank you. Councillor Stendig?
I have had a very busy couple of months, and I am not going to go through them one by one. People are capable of reading for themselves, and many of them are the same as ones that councillors have already mentioned. The only thing that I will speak to is that I was able to volunteer to help set up for the Dual Ice Development Society's gala before and after. So we did set up and take down, and it was phenomenal, and it is amazing, and it warms my heart to see how many people come out and volunteer their time, especially around a holiday. There were teenagers there helping set up. It was amazing. So hats off to all of them.
Thank you. Councillor Hoover?
Yes, for me, there was a lot of ICF and Christmas events. ICF is fairly ongoing. And in terms of Christmas, I was a last minute, jumped in on the charity check stop for victim services, which was beautiful and fun to stand out on the road and meet all these people that some happy, some not. Attended the Big Brother and Big Sisters Christmas Gala. Mayor Poole presented their the scholarship, and I thought that was fantastic to see how many people from our community are involved in Big Brothers and Big Sisters. I did my first presentation from the Battle River Watershed tour that I attended to the FCSS committee. The holiday train. I think probably the highlight for me was the library, the children's Christmas party. And just in case little ones are watching, I won't say what I did. I was dressed up in a costume that was very warm. Put it that way.
Thank you. For myself, again, the ICF has been time consuming. We've had internal and formal meetings. We've had our regular standing committee and regular council meetings. On the 18th, I stood in for Councillor Hoover at the IREC Parent Committee meeting. On the same day, along with CEO Thompson, we met with District Superintendent RCMP, with the RCMP District Superintendent over a coffee. It was a very informal and informative meeting. The CAPE annual meeting, I again have to compliment the CAPE on the work that they do and the presentation and the information that was put forward. On the 21st, I went to Drumheller for RDR Mug, and stood on stage with the Recreation Board Chair as she lit up the lights at Blackfalds. And once again, council has heard nothing but compliments regarding that display, and they continue to come in. And every time you go to a meeting, somebody else is mentioning how well Blackfalds does when it comes to that. And we commend our staff for their hard work on that. On the 25th, I attended a Lacombe Foundation meeting for Councillor Hoover. On the 26th, I do want to mention that we did have a Wolf Creek Public School Board meeting here where we had the discussion around items that were relevant to moving forward with projects within our community. The 28th, I attended the MLA Orr's open house in Lacombe. And on the 30th, I worked at the breakfast and lunch with Santa, volunteered at the breakfast and lunch with Santa, and there's nothing but fun when you see those kids going through there. There was a little bit of challenge with the breakfast, and the lunch went absolutely wonderfully. It was just a learning curve, and I'd like to thank McDonald's for their support of that event. On December 2nd, we had the meeting with Transportation Minister McIver. Again, as Councillor Hoover, I presented awards at Big Brothers and Sisters. All municipal representatives from Central Alberta were invited, and myself and Councillor Hoover were the only ones, including ones from Lacombe, who were able to attend. So they were very appreciative of our attendance. On the 3rd, we had a meeting with Rural Health Professional Action Plan, and the 4th was a police committee meeting. On December 8th, I attended the AUMA Governance Committee meeting in Edmonton. And on December 6th, I rode the train down with Deputy Mayor Olford from Ponoka through to Blackfalds and provided greetings for the holiday train. The folks there, they are very appreciative, and the kids there who actually get to ride the train have a great time on it, and they always comment on how bright it is when they open the doors and they see our lights shining back at their lights. On December 9th, there was a North Red Deer Water Services Commission meeting, followed by the North Red Deer Wastewater Services Commission meeting. On December 9th, I also attended the Fair Deal panel discussion in Red Deer. On the 11th, there was a mayor's meeting and supper in Red Deer. On the 17th, discussion and tour of ParentLink with MLA Orr. ParentLink was trying to hit home the results of the latest budgets and ensured that MLA Orr was aware of the difficulties that it was causing. He was also, again, very impressed with our ParentLink building, and we're hoping that some sort of movement that will incorporate good uses of that building will happen in the future. On December 17th, I attended an education check stop with Wolf Creek Public School Board students. There were about 10 of them out there, and what we did, we handed out, we didn't ask for money, we just handed out reminders of MAD posters, as well as reminders not to participate in texting and that while you're driving. And we just handed that out to everybody who went by. It's surprising how many people had their wallet out and they were trying to give us money. We were saying, no, we don't need to take that. They're appreciative of that. On December 17th, the FCSS volunteer Christmas open house, as Deputy Mayor Olford said, it was our first one and very much a success. On the 20th, the MP Calkins the Christmas open house. On the January the 8th, I attended the interagency meeting. Again, Councillor Taylor was ill for the Recreation Board meeting and attended that. On the 10th, I had a meeting with Birmingham University representatives to discuss common initiatives such as schooling and economic development within the town and in cooperation with Birmingham. I passed that on to CEO Thompson, and hopefully we'll have some initiatives coming out of that. And that brings us to tonight. Councillor
Just
Hoover?
wanted to make a small clarification here, is that the Macomb Foundation, that's that would be Council Lee. So, I'm no longer on that Macomb Foundation.
I apologize.
So for
I attend the Macomb Foundation for you, not for Councillor Hoover.
okay, yeah.
Councillor Hoover had done it for so long that I just, thank you for that clarification.
No problem. They probably had me on the agenda.
Hey, most probably they did. So with that, Councillor Appel?
I move to accept the roundtable reports as information.
Councillor Taylor?
Just a comment.
Go ahead.
I think that's excellent that you met with Berlin University. I had met with them before, goes back quite a few years, to get them involved with Kate. At that time, they didn't have any counselors that would go and meet with them and work with them, so I'm sure that you were greeted well to do that. So I appreciate that.
Motion on the table. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Adoption of the minutes, January 14th minutes. Councilor Sandy, I'm sorry, do you want to go back to another item?
No, this is this one. Somewhere between going into camera and coming out of camera, we appear to have lost Councillor Slob. Her name is not on there as returning.
I know she was there.
She was there.
Wow.
Good catch.
I also forwarded a couple of corrections that they've been made on here.
Yes.
Any other errors or omissions? Motion for acceptance. Councilor Sandy,
I will move to accept the January 14th minutes as amended.
debate, all in favor? Moving on to the January 20th standing committee meeting minutes. Errors or omissions? Motion to accept. Councilor Hoover,
I'll move to accept the minutes for Standing Committee, January 20th, 2023.
debate. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. There are no notices of motion. For good of the council, I have the Environmental Science and Engineering magazine that was delivered to us. I will put it in the reading tray if anybody is interested in that. And I also received a letter from CPR from Mike Levetcho that included the calendar, the CPR calendar that is in the council office, and states that Canada Pacific provides safe and efficient freight transportation in some of the most diverse and beautiful terrain across North America. From the Canadian Rockies to the North Shore, of the Great Lakes to the Mississippi Valley, and all points between. We are proud of the work we do efficiently and safely moving the economy. And it goes on to talk about the calendar. Does council have anything that they wish to add for the good of the council? Not seeing any. Then I would ask if council wishes to have a break. Councilor Schwab,
I'll move for a 5-minute recess.
for 5-minute recess at 9:28. All in favor? Carried unanimously.